Good morning. Happy Sunday. You're probably wondering why I am precariously holding the string, and it will make sense in a second. But it is the third Sunday of Lent, and the first week we talked about God's covenant to us. He has many covenants to us. The first and foremost is that he will love us unconditionally. A covenant is a promise rooted in something immovable, untouchable. So his love for us is one of his covenants. And then that promise is tied to his presence. And that's what we talked about last week, was his presence and whether or not we see it. And this week we're going to talk about his guidance. So we talked about the what, his promise, the when, his presence, because it's all the time, and now the why. So what is his promise being tied to his presence? Why does that matter? What does that have to do anything? And it's because it has a purpose. His promise is tied to his presence that has a purpose. And the purpose is his guidance in our lives. I asked the kids this morning, what is guidance? Just think of like a tour guide. Anywhere you don't know where you're going, and the tour guide tells you where you're going, why you're going there, what significance does it have. And then, so we talked about the scripture verse in Exodus that says, and it's funny because it's one of the 10 commandments, and as I know it, is do not take the Lord's name in vain. And that's always like, you just don't take the Lord's name in vain. You don't swear using the Lord's name. I thought that's what it meant. But I like, when I was researching this week, is that the way in scripture that it was translated previously is, do not use the Lord your God's name as if it were of no significance. And so it's, along the same lines, you don't just use it as it's this everyday word that has no meaning, because it takes away from his value. So to have it in having no significance. And because it's all the significance, right? But it's why, and that purpose, why, is, so I explain it like most of, if you're a little bit older, I don't even know, do they have vending machines now, and do kids still use them? But think of it as God as a vending machine. And I know when I used to use a vending machine as a kid, I would get so nervous. I'd find what I want. I'd match the number and the letter, and then I'd look E4. Okay, I got to make sure that's the one I picked, said E4, and I'm going to press E, and I'm going to press 4. And I would check and double check that that's what I wanted. But then when it came time, press E, and then I was always nervous I was going to hit something besides 4, and I hit 4, and I got it all right. And then E5 starts turning, and it's not what I wanted, and it's coming down, and it comes down, and there's nothing I can do about it. And that stinks, but that's missing the point I'm talking about with God as a vending machine. A lot of us think that we can just pray to God for E4, and we will get E4. But most of the time, sometimes, maybe not all the time, E5 comes out. And it's like, what did I miss? And the whole point of knowing that his promise is tied to his presence and that it has a purpose, God is not a vending machine, because if you have a formula, like I am going to ask God for A plus B, and it's going to give me C. A lot of times it doesn't come up that way, because when you stick to a rigid formula, you're missing the in-between little details, the nuances, the things that go into it, and they matter. All of it matters. Just like last week, we talked about the story of 9/11 and people not understanding why their alarm didn't go off that day, and it literally saved their life. The little details matter. And so you can ask God, and that's what this Lenten season is about, is strengthening our relationship, and how can we better it, and how can we know that his promise is tied to his presence. And even if we don't know the purpose, we know that there is a purpose. And just knowing that there is a purpose can help us to not have that anxiety about having the perfect formula and putting everything in right and it's going to end up perfectly. Because sometimes we think we know what's best for us, and it's not really what is best for us. Because it's in his timing, right? Not ours. So the biggest thing is knowing that there is a purpose, not necessarily what it is. And when you pray, that I always tell my kids at youth and my own kids, you can't pray to God asking for specific things. Like Ellie prays all the time, like, dear Jesus, like, please, I want a puppy. Like, please bring me a puppy. And I said, he doesn't work like that, but you can pray to Jesus for patience. And while you're waiting to see what happens, you can pray to Jesus to find ways to not put yourself first, and ways that you can live how he wants you to live while you're waiting on what you want. And then you never know what may come of that because of it. Pray for grace while you're waiting and maybe lose patience. There are lots of ways that you can pray about things without praying for things that will help you. But again, the biggest thing is that there is a purpose. Just knowing that there is a purpose, there's a purpose for your life, even if you don't know exactly what it is. And praying just to see the signs of that guidance, and that when things don't always happen the way that you think that they should, that's really God tugging at our hearts, pulling at our hands, and guiding us the way that it should be. So that's Sunday School Simplified. Oh my gosh. And as I drop the string, I almost forgot. So what the string has to do with it is that Ellie asked me to get this knot out for the past couple of days, and I've been working at it, and every time I get close to it, I get distracted and I'd put it down, and I'd think, okay, I know exactly where I need to start when I come back. And even though I memorized it perfectly, no matter what, every single time I came back, I would spend 20 minutes trying to figure out where I left off. And that's how you can look at your relationship with God. Like, don't give up. Like, just when you're so close, if you walk away, you might, you don't have to start over, but you're going to spend a lot of time figuring out where you left off if you give up. So don't give up. And that's why, literally and figuratively, I am holding a string. I held it throughout Sunday school and Sunday School Simplified, so I don't have to start over when I'm done. And hopefully I will be finished. Let me know if anybody wants any string updates. So that's Sunday School Simplified, and I hope everybody has a great week. Thanks for coming.